All right, joining us on the broadcast, we've got Professor Swaran Singh. He's a professor of international relations at JNU. Professor Singh, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Now, this is a high-stakes meeting between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping. Now, the United States sees China as its great rival, so to speak, a nation that could eclipse the United States in terms of both its economy and also its military might. So Donald Trump in the past has blown hot and cold vis-a-vis China. In your assessment, what do you think is the key issue that Donald Trump and Xi Jinping will of course discuss?
I think what is grabbing big headlines for this summit meeting is how President Trump can take a certain amount of help from President Xi Jinping in having an early resolution of opening Strait of Hormuz, which serves interests of both these leaders, and both these would be happy to see Strait of Hormuz opened up. Beyond that, of course, there will be issues of bilateral trade, which is an ongoing area of tension, of tariffs, of technology, and I think to the minimum, they will be definitely able to continue with the truce that they had created in Busan meeting last October, where Chinese had decided to lower down restrictions on exports of rare earth materials and also agreed to buy much more of soybean and beef from the United States. Trump comes to this summit meeting primarily driven by, other than Iran war, his domestic concerns, his popularity ratings going down, midterm elections coming in front of him. On the other side, President Xi Jinping is looking forward to taking some concessions from President Trump in terms of US support to Taiwan, particularly arms supplies to Taiwan. And of course, the ongoing issues of artificial intelligence, semiconductors, regional security, and so on would also be important.
Right.
But you noticed that this time the welcome is very different. You mentioned Vice President Han Cheng receiving President Trump at airport. He is much senior, much closer to President Xi Jinping compared to 2017 when a state consular, Yang Jiechi, had come to receive him. So
Right.
in the very opening, they are showcasing that they respect President Trump.
Interesting. Now, Donald Trump has said that he does not need China's help in resolving the issue or the war that he has with Iran. In your assessment, what incentive do you think China has to help Donald Trump out of the crisis that's been created at the Strait of Hormuz by the American war on Iran? Do you think China would like to see this war go on for some time longer? Because if the United States remains bogged down in the Strait of Hormuz, that obviously is advantage China and Russia.
Definitely, since China sees the United States as its primary competitor, so also United States sees China as a systemic challenge. So from that perspective, Beijing may be happy to see United States entangled in that kind of dissipating its energies in that Iran war. But equally important, it is to notice that Chinese also need the Strait of Hormuz to be open, because bulk of China's energy, in fact 80% of Iran's oil exports go to China. China has about $300 billion trade with Gulf countries annually. China has enormous investments in that region. So China would also be equally benefiting from an early end to this war and back to normalization in that region. Indeed, China had also emerged as a peacemaker from 2023 when it had created certain rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran. So Iran has suddenly developed much more in terms of outreach and engagement in that region. So by opening Strait of Hormuz, China is also going to be equally benefiting from it. Of course, President Trump for a long time is looking for an exit strategy, face saving as soon as possible.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Professor Swaran Singh, for joining us with that perspective there.